Hey, Compass Kids, welcome to another Sunday where we're going to learn about God from His Word. Let's get ready and pray really quick before we begin. Dear God, we're so excited to get to open your Word again, to learn more about you. And this is a crazy week. There's so much stuff going on today. So God, I pray that we'd be able to focus, that again, if our Compass Kids are in the parking lot, we're making sure we're being so quiet. They were so good last week that I pray they do the exact same thing. They try not to bother their parents, try not to distract them, let them learn, and they themselves can concentrate and focus on what we're supposed to be doing. So we thank you so much for this opportunity. Pray this all in your name. And everybody said, Amen. All right, you guys, like I said, make sure if you're in the parking lot that you're not distracting your parents, you're letting them learn, and you are focused. Right here. You with me? All right, good. So, before we start, I have a little story to tell you because it's going to have something to do with what we're learning about. So this is Mr. Lion. Say hi, Mr. Lion. Aww. Mr. Lion is a nice little lion. He's just hanging out. He's doing a great job doing his lion thing. He's having a great time. But Mr. Penguin comes over and starts saying, "Hey, Mr. Lion, hey, I don't like you. You're mean. I don't want you around here anymore." And he tries to kill Mr. Lion and get rid of him. Oh no. This is so sad. How do you think Mr. Lion feels? He's so sad. Now he's sad, Mr. Lion. That's not good. Oh, but Mr. Lion or someone else comes along, Rammy, and Rammy says, "Hey, I know I'm going to help out Mr. Lion. I'm going to get rid of that penguin. I'm going to do it." So he gets ready and he runs and boom! Ha ha ha! He got rid of the penguin. And Mr. Rammy comes back over to Mr. Lion. How do you think Mr. Lion's going to feel? Is he going to be sad? Is he going to be happy? Is he going to be scared? How do you think he's going to feel? Remember what you're thinking, how he's going to feel, because we've got some interesting things going on today that we're going to learn about. Do you remember what happened last week? Last week we learned about two people. We had David on one side and King Saul on the other side. Now, which one did a good job? David did a good job. King Saul did not do a good job. He did not obey God because he wasn't thinking on God. His heart wasn't focused on God. David obeyed, and he did a great job. King Saul is trying to kill David, and so David has to run away. He has to hide, and it's really sad. But God had told David, eventually, you are going to be the king. So, I've got my David right here. And we've got happy David, and we have angry David. Yikes. We don't want angry David. So, happy David, angry David. And we're going to have to figure out which one, we're going to think through, which one is he going to be? We're going to see 3 different scenarios and see which one he's going to be angry, which one he's going to be happy in. So, the very first thing that happens, we're in 2 Samuel chapter 1, already there. The first thing that happens is we find out that King Saul was fighting in a war and he dies. He dies, he's killed, along with his son Jonathan and many of his other, all of his other sons and most of his descendants. They're all dead now. And so one of the people comes to David, this is our first situation, and he says, "Guess what, David?" This is an Amalekite. "I have killed King Saul." Now remember in our little story before with Rammy and Lion, Mr. Lion, when Rammy came to Mr. Lion and he said, "Hey, I killed your enemy. The guy who was being mean to you, I killed him. Isn't that exciting? Doesn't that make you happy?" What do you guys think? Do you think he's going to be happy? Or do you think David is going to be angry? Let's see. He is angry. Why is he angry? Do you guys remember, how did David view King Saul? How did he look at him? What was most important to David, first of all? Most important thing to David is God's glory. And so when David looked at King Saul, he said, he's not my enemy. He is the Lord's anointed. He's the one that God put in charge. So I don't have anything against him. I'm not trying to kill him or hurt him. I want to help him. I want to be good to him. And this guy comes up and he says, I've killed King Saul. And he brings him his crown and some of his stuff and says, see, look, this is his stuff. I killed him. And he says, you're welcome, David. But this is how David responds. He is angry. David says, you should not have done that. I didn't even do that. I said, I will not hurt the Lord's anointed. Oh, man. So he takes this first guy who killed King Saul and he says, if you killed the king, then you are going to be put to death because you killed someone. Oh, man. So that guy ends up dying. Was that kind of surprising? We thought he was going to be happy, but instead David was angry with him. So, as it happened, in the middle of that battle, that King Saul and his son Jonathan died on the hill. The bad guys, after this guy comes and takes his crown and everything, the bad guys then come and take the bodies of King Saul and King Saul and Jonathan. They take them and they put them in one of the temples of their own gods, one of their fake gods. So they put them in there even though they're dead. It's kind of gross. They put them in there and they start making fun of them and say, ha ha ha, King Saul's dead, Jonathan's dead, ha ha ha. Is that a kind thing to do? No, that's terrible. That's so sad. We don't want anyone doing that. Especially to Jonathan, who did a wonderful job, and to King Saul, who was the king. He was who God put in charge. So, what happens is there are these men from this town, and the town is called Jabesh Gilead. Try to say that. Jabesh Gilead. Jabesh Gilead. These are the men from there, and they hear about this, and they're like, oh no, that's terrible. We don't want that to happen to someone who used to be the king and the king's son who was great and did a wonderful job. We don't want that to happen to them. So they sneak out in the middle of the night. They sneak in to the enemy's territory, go into their temple, take the bodies of King Saul and Jonathan, and they go and bury them in a respectful, kind way. That was so good of them. But they had to go into the enemy territory. They had to sneak in there. What would the bad guys have done if they saw the men of Jabesh Gilead there? They would have been like, oh, you guys are Israelites. We're going to kill you. And they probably could have. They had a big, strong army. And the men of Jabesh Gilead were just sneaking in there at night. They could have died. They did a great job. So this is the second situation. Situation number 2 is the men come and they say, we have rescued King Saul. We helped rescue them. Now, what do you think? Is David going to be angry or is he going to be happy about this? What do you think? Angry, happy, angry, happy, angry, happy. We'll see. He is so happy, you guys. He's like, you men of Jabesh Gilead did that kind thing, and you were so courageous to do it. You went into the enemy territory. You could have been killed. But you did it because you knew that that would be a good, kind, respectful thing to do for someone who was your king and for someone who had followed and obeyed God, Jonathan. David is so happy with them, and he says, everyone, look at these guys. Look at what they did. They did an awesome job. And at this point, David is now sitting there, and something happens to him because King Saul is gone, this is what happens. King Saul is dead, and so David is now made king. David is the king. And so now the king of Judah, just at first, he's the king of Judah, and he says, wow, you guys did a great job. The king is happy with these guys. That's pretty good. You want the king happy with you. All right, and so, like I said, David is now the king of Judah, just a little portion of all of Israel. But all the rest of Israel finds one of King Saul's other descendants, one of his sons, and his name is Ish-bosheth. Can you guys say Ish-bosheth? I know, there's a lot of people in this story today. So, Ish-bosheth then becomes the king of all the rest of Israel. The rest of Israel says, we don't know about David so much. He's down there in Judah, but we're going to make Ish-bosheth our king. Because he was the son of our last king, and that's usually how it works. So that's what they do. And Ish-bosheth, turns out, doesn't do a very good job of being king. He starts accusing his people. He starts to get mad at them. He's trying to fight these wars and not doing a good job at it. And who's supposed to be the king? Is it supposed to be Ish-bosheth, or is it supposed to be David? By what God said. God said that David was going to be the next king. And so he should be the king. Ish-bosheth is not supposed to be the king. So, after a while, there are these people who are with Ish-bosheth, and they're like, I don't think we like this guy anymore. I think we should go over to David's side. We should help him be the king. And they think, what would be a good idea? What could we do to make David king, to help him, and to make him really happy with us? Because we want to be like those people of Jabesh Gilead. We want the king to be happy with us. So what should we do? I've got an idea. So they go and they kill King Ish-bosheth. They go and kill him. Now, he wasn't supposed to be the king, but had he really done anything that was really bad and wrong? Not really. The people made him the king. And so when these guys, their names, I forgot, their names are Rechab and Baanah. Rechab and Baanah, they kill King Ish-bosheth, and they come tell David, King David, down in Judah. And they're like, hey, look, we got rid of Ish-bosheth. Now you can be the king. Aren't you so happy with us? Aren't you going to say we did a great job like those guys of Ish-bosheth? Or, I'm sorry, like those guys of just Jabesh Gilead?
Yeah!
Aren't you going to say, come on, tell everyone how great we are, and we're going to be in charge of a lot of stuff, and we're going to get a lot of money, and everyone's going to like us. Right?
Come on!
Yikes. What do you guys think? Do you think David, King David now, is going to be happy about this? Or is he going to be angry about this? What do you guys think? Think about what we've already learned. How he responded to these two. How's he going to respond to this one? Yeah, I think you guys probably guessed it. He is angry. He is so angry that this is what he says. This is in 2 Samuel chapter 4, verses 9 through 11. But David answered Rechab and Baanah, his brother, the sons of Rimmon the Beerothite, as the Lord lives, who has redeemed my life out of every adversity, when one person told me, behold, Saul is dead, and thought he was bringing me good news. Remember, he thought he was going to make David happy. He says, I seized him and killed him at Ziklag, which was the reward I gave him for his news. He says, I wasn't like this, I was like this. How much more when wicked men have killed a righteous man in his own house on his bed? Shall I not now require his blood at your hand and destroy you from the earth? David is angry, and he says, you guys should have learned from what happened to this Amalekite over here. This guy thought that he was going to make me happy by killing King Saul, and I was angry and I put him to death because it was a wrong thing to do. You guys thought you were going to make me happy by killing King Ish-bosheth. Guess what? It's the same thing. I'm not happy. I'm angry because you did that. You shouldn't have killed him. That was not good of you to do. Ugh. You guys, that is how David responds. Because David is not concerned with himself. He's not thinking like these guys, oh, I just want to be king. As soon as I can be king and have all the power and all the glory, then it's going to be great. He's concerned with, what does God want me to do right now? Does God want me to kill King Saul? No. Does God want me to kill King Ish-bosheth? No. Then I'm not going to do it. And God's going to do his plan. He was happy with these guys, the men of Jabesh-Gilead, who were strong and courageous. And they said, we want to honor the king who has died, the person who was in charge of us, that God put in charge. And we want to honor Jonathan, his son, who did a great job of obeying God and trusting God. We want to do something good for them. And so David said, yes, that is the right attitude. That is the right thing to do. These guys, they tried to be sneaky. These guys killed King Ish-bosheth when he was sleeping. They weren't courageous at all either. These guys, though, did a great job, and that's why King David now, he was so happy with them because they understood what it meant to obey God and to follow what he says. So, we want to make sure that we think the same way as David. We want to make sure that we're not thinking just about ourselves, just about how maybe if I kill this guy, then I can be in charge. Maybe if I be mean to this person over here, then everyone else will like me. Maybe if I don't do what my parents say, I'll be happier today. Yikes. Those are scary thoughts, and that's not a good way to think. We need to think like these guys and like David. That is how we should think. We always want to do what is honoring to God and what brings him the most glory. Because then, if we do that, we are going to be happy, and it's going to be great. Because at the end of this, King David has wanted to do the right thing this whole time. He's kept God at the center this entire time, always thinking about God's glory. What should I do? What will God want me to do right now? And after all of this, after King Ish-bosheth dies, then all of Israel finally says, okay, David, we're going to make you the king now. You're the king over all of us. And David is finally king. What God promised to David is finally happening. It's so awesome, you guys. So we're going to learn more about what happens now that David is the king of all of Israel. It's great. But we know that David's not perfect. He's done a great job so far, but he's not perfect. We know he's going to mess up at some point. So, we've got all of that. I hope that you guys understood what's going on today, that you can see the difference between all of these guys and see how David responded the right way. It's so good. So, let's take our hands, fold them, pray really quick to end, and then we'll be done. Dear God, we thank you so much for this lesson, for this history that we can look at and know that these are actual people that actually lived and they really did these things. God, the men of Jabesh-Gilead were so strong and courageous, and they went in and rescued King Saul and Jonathan from the enemies, the bad guys, risking their own lives. God, that was so good of them to do. So we thank you for that example. And God, I pray that all of our Compass kids would be able to not distract their parents. They would be able to do their coloring pages. They could maybe have some snacks and do whatever. But God, we thank you so much for this lesson. We pray all this all in your name. And everybody said, Amen. All right, you guys. So remember, like last week, you can work on your worksheets. You can be eating your snacks. Try not to bother your parents unless it's an emergency. And we'll have a great rest of the day. Make sure you sign up for Camp Compass. Make sure you're ready because we're getting it together and it's going to be so amazing, you guys. I'm so excited. It's going to be really cool. So you want to make sure you sign up. It's totally free. You'll get your travel pack with all of the stuff you need in it for crafts and science stuff and just everything you're going to need. It's going to be so cool. All right, you guys, have a great rest of your week. We'll see you later.